Every time I want to do a damn Bloomberg, I keep forgetting to log in. Next time, I will do that. Do you got to see a trend here with Gen Z and millennials, the younger millennials, anyways. When you hear them talk about cryptos, for example, like there is definitely a push for kind of breaking down all the systems that have been in place for a long time. I don't mean all Gen Z and I don't mean all millennials. Just you can see where they're more excited for cryptos than dealing with a traditional banking and system or investment. They're more interested in using Klarna than a credit card, for example. Or what's the other one? There's Klarna, there's Afterpay, there's Affirm. Whew, probably one more that I'm thinking about there. I got the top of my head. But one of these things that you, I, I can see why though. Like where I grew up, people, some people did okay, worked it forward, and there was a lot of people that struggled. And I didn't realize it back then. As I got older, and as I dealt with banks, it's the banks have us in a vice grip, and it sucks. It's if you don't have a good credit score in this world, you're basically screwed unless you got a bunch of cash. Like you're not allowed to make any mistakes. Everything's like just held against you. And not everyone in this world starts off with a great life. And there's so many people that just couldn't get out of a hole so they could, get some credit to make the next step in life. Everywhere you go, the bank owns your ass. And I can see, like, do you want to deal with banks anymore? Do you want to deal with credit cards? You talk to people that got a mortgage recently, like they want to map your genome just to get a goddamn mortgage. Not an asset. And I get it after 2008, but getting a house is a pain in the ass. You talk to small business owners trying to get an SBA loan, pain in the ass. You try to get in a credit card coming out of college. Well, I think a lot of credit card people are on campus, or they were. And then they give you like $500. And like, in this world, it's a couple tanks of gas, right? In a world where you're basically measured by how much credit's on your credit cards anymore. So I can see where millennials and Gen Z are like, screw this shit. We're tired of the banking system just owning us. And I get it, you don't pay your bills, you're supposed to suffer consequences. I just know that where I came from, how hard it was to get credit to get out of the hole. And it makes you feel like they just want to keep you in the goddamn hole. They don't want you to get out, they want to keep you down. So I can see where, like, with the way the world's changing, some of the new philosophies and new ideals, I can just see where Gen Z would just rather do Klarna instead of having to deal with a credit card or signing up for a new credit card. The option to do some kind of payment plans. I know some of these things get pretty expensive. Don't quote me on that, but one or two I've researched in the past, it seems like the interest rate's pretty high. So I think I'd rather just deal with a credit card at that point. But that feeling, I say there's a couple things that you think about with the way society is right now. That feeling of when you drive down the street and a cop's behind you and you get anxious, you get nervous, you have anxiety, like, am I going to get pulled over? Did I do something wrong? And it's annoying because you didn't do anything wrong. But why do you feel that way? You shouldn't have to live that way. It kind of sucks, right? Why should I live in fear that I went, 5 miles and over in a 45-mile area and I'm going to get pulled over and get a ticket? And like, man, when you talk to people who are like alive in like the 50s and 60s, there was still police around, but not like it is now. It's overbearing. And I get it. Keep crime down, sure. But it's like, I don't want to feel like I step on society and you make the wrong move and there's a cop over there writing you a goddamn ticket. In the same sense, I can see where you feel that way when it comes to like the banking system. If you make one wrong move, you're never going to get a credit card for a long time. That feeling of when you fill out your first credit card, you're like waiting to get denied. And you had that same anxiety that you feel like when a cop's behind you. Like you're sitting around, like you almost got to like beg these people to give you credit so you can live. I can see where the younger generations are trying to tear that down. I'm not saying there's nothing like that everything's wrong with banking, and it's just that feeling of it works really well for the people that got their shit together, and for everyone else that's trying to get their shit together, it sucks. So things are changing, and some of these old systems are they're trying to tear them down. I'm just not sure they're going to be able to. The big push for crypto, you want to get off the U.S. dollar. You're trying to get away from the government control at the end of the day, but the government's probably not going to let that happen. At the end of the day, the banks will find a way to control your ass too, because we can't seem to escape that. They don't like a company right now. They just cut them off. We're not. You can't take payments. We're gonna shut your accounts down. We don't agree with this. And man, isn't that what? Nah, it's a whole completely different scenario. But I think in the marijuana industry, they can't even get bank accounts because it's still illegal federally. I have to look that one up. Random thought while I'm doing this, but I don't know if you bought a house recently or if you got a mortgage recently. I listened to some of the stories and the shit people had to go through. It's like I understand why we have to do it, but it's why is it so goddamn difficult? I can buy like a boat or a car that costs as much as a house in like 45 minutes. It takes them 90 days to close on a goddamn house. So everything is so complicated. And if you don't have your shit together like perfectly, then you're just not going to get a house. So now you're stuck paying these ridiculous rents now. And again, it's like, is the system just designed to keep people down in that sense? We're not going to give you credit. We're going to tell you it's easy to get a house, or we're going to say there's programs for you to get a house, but we're still going to make it goddamn difficult to get a house. And then when you look at some of the SBA requirements, when I ran into the people that wanted to start small businesses, like trying to start a business when you have no money is difficult because you think, well, I'm going to go borrow some money to start the business. But for a lot of the business loans, they require you to have like X amount of money for them to even consider you to have the loan. And it's they set it up so you can't get out. And that's the part that I think sucks, because we should be trying to help people who want to work hard, who got ideas. We should be trying to help them to climb out of the hole, to go create jobs, create businesses, create wealth for themselves and their families. But a lot of times they need, I was talking to someone, they're trying to get an equipment loan or something. And instead of just getting like a line of credit or a loan, they're like, well, you got to put 20% down on this really expensive piece of equipment. And the person's like, the whole point I'm coming to the bank is I don't have the money. And then they can't get the loan because they didn't have 20% down on this piece of equipment. And I understand that's banking. I don't want to make it sound like I'm, stupid. I'm reasonably savvy when it comes to money. I'm putting myself in the shoes of where I was as a teenager growing up in a family that didn't have a lot of money, that wasn't educated, and I had to dig myself out of that hole. Could have things been made a little bit easier for someone that wanted to work hard and do the right thing? Yes, I believe so. But I can see with the new way of thinking, the millennials and Gen Z are like, screw this. We're gonna do crypto. We're gonna use these apps. We're not gonna do the traditional credit cards that charge us 29% interest. And man, they're gonna try. They're gonna try to chop things down. They're gonna try to change them. I just don't know. I don't know if it's gonna happen. It's obviously, it's $46 billion shopping app. It's working in a sense. Makes you wonder how much money's out there just on credit every day. If they're doing that much, not every day, but 46 billion as a whole here, and how much money's getting ran through the banks on Visa and Mastercard and American Express, it's got to be bonkers. But what's buy now, pay later? It's they took. I bought a bike when I was a kid with the money I made cutting lawns and shit. He did layaway. I went and put my $30 down, and I showed up every week with my lawnmower money, and I kept paying him $5 or $10 until I got my bike. That's layaway. This is kind of layaway, right? Buy now, pay later. It's just, instead of layaway, you got it when you finally paid, and you get it now, and you just got to break it up into payments, PayPal and foreign shit. So I don't know. We're gonna see. I'm kind of thinking out loud here, kind of synthesizing what I'm reading and thinking, and you just see the world changing, and you see how there's so many rules and regulations on how the system owns us. And I understand why some of the things are in place, But man, does it make it difficult for, if you're middle class and below to try to rise up. Man, the system's like rigged against you in that sense. You got to be perfect. And it's hard. No one's perfect. Everyone makes mistakes. So, random thoughts all over the place. I'll follow up on a couple of these things after I think about it more, but that's all I got for this one. I'll catch you.